This is the second video for Religion in Conflict. We move on to the topic of peace. Now, peace is obviously a really crucial idea in lots of religions, but you need to define very clearly what you mean by peace. Peace is obviously the situation where you do not have fighting, you do not have conflict, you are not at war. One of the main ways of achieving peace is to have reconciliation. Reconciliation is when two sides have been having a conflict, they've been arguing, but then they come together and they become friends again, they reconcile their differences, they forgive each other. That's why we've got this picture here. You can see there's a divide between the two sides, but they are reaching over that divide to hold hands as that symbol of friendship, that symbol of forgiveness. So that's one of the most important ways that peace is maintained. Another really crucial idea for you in this exam is pacifism. Pacifism is the belief that violence is always wrong, there are always better solutions. Somebody who was a pacifist was somebody like Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi believed that if you were non-violent, you believed in the principle of ahimsa, not harming living things, A-H-I-M-S-A, then you could have far greater results in the world than by being violent. And one of the main ways that Gandhi used and other people have used is non-violent protest. And what this involves is something quite similar to what you can see the tank man doing here. The tank man was well, we don't know very much about him actually. He was somebody who was in China who decided that he was very angry at the massacre that had taken place in Tiananmen Square the night before. And so what this man did is he walked out in front of a line of tanks the next morning and stood in front of them and refused to move as a symbol of protest. He didn't attack them, he didn't shoot at them, he didn't try and attack any of the soldiers, he simply stood in front of the tank and refused to move. He was eventually taken away and we don't know his fate, although it's quite likely that he was executed. Another example here is in Vietnam. This is a Buddhist monk who's protesting against the treatment of Buddhists around Vietnam at the time. And what he chose to do was to set himself on fire, to self-immolate. And in so doing, he brought the attention of the world to the treatment of Buddhists in Vietnam at the time. So non-violent protest can be extremely powerful. And remember that Mahatma Gandhi managed to throw the British Empire out of India through using almost exclusively non-violent protest. Very powerful tool. So forgiveness, what do Christians and Muslims believe about forgiveness? Well, for Christians, obviously, this is really central to the religion. Forgiveness is one of the main messages of Jesus. Forgive us the wrongs we have done, as we forgive the wrongs others have done us. A form of this is put into the Lord's Prayer, forgiving trespasses. And this is from Matthew's Gospel. So central to our ethical conduct for Christians. Jesus, obviously, he came to forgive our sins, and so this idea of forgiveness is, again, very, very central. And Jesus himself told people that you shouldn't forgive just once or twice, you should forgive infinitely. He was asked, should we forgive somebody 7 times? And Jesus said, no, 70 times 7 times, meaning infinite, effectively. For Muslims, forgiveness is also very important. Paradise is for those who curb their anger and forgive their fellow men. That's quite clear, that's from the Quran, so that has authority. Allah's forgiveness is the most important, though. Everybody is trying to get Allah's forgiveness. And obviously you've got that point in Hajj where people are on Mount Arafat looking for forgiveness of Allah. Muhammad treated enemies with mercy and with forgiveness when Muhammad managed to spread the religion of Islam quite successfully by being merciful towards his enemies. And finally, Desmond Tutu. Often you'll have to look at case studies for this entire topic, and Desmond Tutu is a really good guy to look at, because this is somebody who was during the time of apartheid in South Africa, when whites were excluded, when black people were excluded from mainstream society, and so you would have signs like this which would say that certain public things were only to be used by white people rather than black people. Buses, public toilets, shops, taxis. White people were privileged above black people. Black people made up the vast majority of the country as well. Desmond Tutu, who's an archbishop, stood up and said that he thought this was wrong. And he did this by peaceful protest. So huge rallies where obviously black people are looking for the vote here, to vote in elections. He's quite well known for going onto a beach, a whites-only beach, and being attacked and beaten off. the white police who were there. And he is also very well known for setting up the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which just fits into this topic so perfectly with those key terms. What the idea was that during apartheid, terrible things had been done by so many people, and actually on both sides as well. So the Truth and Reconciliation Commission got people from the black side and the white side to talk to each other and to try and forgive each other, to basically talk through the issues. And there was an amnesty called, which means there wouldn't be any punishments for those people. And it worked. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission was a great success. So Desmond Tutu sums up a lot of what we're trying to talk about in the conflict module. That's your lot.